Welcome, everybody, to After Dark Live. This is your host, John, with HSFL Paranormal. Just gonna wait for some more people to come join us here. Thank you, everybody who has joined. We're about to get started here soon. I have a special guest coming tonight on the show. Gail B is in the house. Thank you so much for joining. Just waiting for a couple more people to get in here. Hey, Canadian Witches, Michael Campbell, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Waiting on a couple more, and I'm waiting for my special guest to join me here live. I hope everybody's having a fantastic evening so far. Thank you so much for joining. This is your host with the most, HSFL Paranormal. Gonna be telling scary ghost stories tonight in the dark live. Thank you, Gail B. I appreciate it. I appreciate you for sharing this out. I got to do the same right now. All right, y'all. Hey, Zach Stanford. How you doing tonight? I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing? All right, guys. Michael Campbell, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Hey, Paranormal Voices, how's it going? Welcome. Sorry, guys, I'm in the middle of sharing this out, waiting for my guest to arrive. She's finishing up her live stream. Hey, Jeanette Moore, what's going on? Thank you so much for joining. How's it going, everybody? Great to see everyone. All right, guys. All right. Give me a couple minutes, guys. I am sharing this out so we can get a good amount of people in here. Having issues though. Okay, there we go. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm good. Thank you so much for asking, Michael. How are you? I'm glad that you're doing good. Doing pretty good, Zach. Yeah, guys. Sorry, just warming up here, waiting for some more people to join in and waiting for my special guest before I get started here. Thank you so much for joining the show. We're going to be on for a couple hours, so all right, guys. Share this out to a couple groups. Canadian Witches has joined us a little bit ago. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So tonight on After Dark Live, I will be sharing scary ghost stories that will chill you to the bone. I love doing these live streams. It is still one of my top live streams that I do here on my channel, and I love sharing stories. Yes, scary stories just before bed. Exactly. I did share this out to my. I shared this out to my page though here. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys like the theme so far. Hey, Kelsey'S fam is in the house. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. So tonight I am going to get started here soon. Diary of Her Mind is in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much, Diary, for joining. Hello. Thank you so much, Canadian Witches, for tweeting it out. I really appreciate it. We will get started here momentarily. So tonight I will be sharing from scary ghost stories told in the dark. I know it's been forever, Diary. ... But yes, I do share stories from scary ghost stories told in the dark. So get ready. They can get pretty dark and downright disgusting at times. But they're the kind of stories that I like to share on this special. Hey, Melissa Bays, how's it going? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Mo, what's up? Go get them. Ghostbuster Fatouche. It's Fatouche in the chat. Guys, say hello to my coworker, Mo V. Awesome, awesome person. Work with him just about every day. He's a really great guy. He's a jokester, though. Got to watch out for him. No, just like, it's Fatouche. But yes, we will get started here soon, guys. Much love, bro. Hey, Tammy, how's it going? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. We will be starting the stories here soon. Hey, Ray the fam is in the house. What is up, buddy? Thank you so much for joining. Hey, what's going on? Country Girl Paranormal is in the house. Thank you so much for joining.
for scary ghost stories told in the dark.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And now I have my soundboard, so now I can do different voices throughout the stories. Monica, hey, how's it going? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I know, it's been a while. Oh my. All right. We used to tell scary stories in the hayloft as a kid. That's awesome. Hey, Kayla, how's it going? Yep. We're just waiting on a couple more people, guys. Sorry, it's taking a little bit. Kelsey's just wrapping up her stream. And we should have Kelsey up here momentarily. I did send a link to her. So. But I could go ahead and at least pull the stories up. Oh, thank you, Diary of Her Mind. I really appreciate it. We're gonna tell scary ghost stories in the dark tonight, Monica. Okay, guys. So I just muted the music. Hey, what's up, Leon Ladybug? How's it going? Thank you so much for joining. I thought you said the fam was in here. I was like, what? No. That'd be cool, though. But what's going on, fam? Welcome to HSFL Paranormal, and welcome to After Dark Live. Scary ghost stories to chill you to the bone. Tonight is going to be the first time I've ever co-hosted with somebody on the Scary Ghost Stories. I'm going to be bringing up Kelsey's Paranormal to join me in telling some of these scary stories. Tim Timmons, welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
If you have not already shared this stream, please consider doing so. Make sure you smash that like button and let others know that this live stream is going on. I hope you guys enjoy these stories. Have a good night.
All right, Mary. Hey, how's it going, Mary? How are you? All right, guys. We are going to go live. Cool. Oh, we are already live. What am I talking about? Okay. Once there was a wealthy farmer who owned a lot of land in Ohio. He built his barn on his property every time his wife had a baby. He named the barns after each of his children. By the time the story takes place, they had 6 kids and were expecting their 7th. Hey, Stephanie Ferrante, how's it going? However, the farmer's wife died in childbirth, and so did her unborn baby. The farmer went insane with grief and could not tend to his farm. The family had no money, and the farm started to go under. That night, in the depths of madness and despair, the farmer took an axe and led his children out into the barns, where he murdered them. One by one, he buried each of their body in the 6 barns that were named after them. Then the farmer went into the 7th barn and he hung himself. As the story goes, all of the barns were eventually torn down and the land was sold off, all except the 7th barn. Nobody wanted to buy the land because of what had happened there, and it became abandoned and soon fell into disrepair. They say if you go into the barn at night, you can see the ghost of the farmer hanging up from the rafters, his body swaying back and forth, dwelling on his horrible crime for all eternity. No one was ever really sure where the 7th barn was actually located. Although it was definitely in Ohio, some say it was in Cran's farm in Cuyahoga Valley, and others said it was on top of the world in Northampton. In 1997, the local Ohio teacher claimed that after a lot of research, he had finally managed to track down the real location of the infamous 7th barn. He said that none of these barns had actually been tore down. The land had just been divided up and sold the barns into different sections and had simply incorporated them into the neighboring farms. According to the teacher, he was able to pinpoint the location from all the barns on neighbors' properties that had nameplates above the doors with the name of the children engraved into them. The teacher and his son set out at night to visit the barns, bringing a video camera with them in hopes of capturing some paranormal activity. The next morning, the teacher's wife reported the husband missing, and the police found the abandoned car by the roadside. While searching the area, they entered the barn in a nearby field and found the dead bodies of the teacher and the son hanging from the rafters. The crazy thing is, this is a true story based off of a legend in Ohio. Yep, that's pretty scary. 21 people in the house. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Psycho Ghost Trackers. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you, Brandon. How are you? Thank you so much, Kayla. I really appreciate you guys tweeting this out and sharing this out. We got Jenna Stole the Fam. Thank you so much. Is it Satil the Fam? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Tammy Burgess Rock Fam. Oh, what? Kelsey's Paranormal Raid. Woo! My friend Kelsey's going to be joining us here momentarily. Ramen Raid. Ramen Raid. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I just got in trouble for chatting. But yes. I apologize for missaying your name, Gina. Thank you so much for joining me. Shared on Facebook. Thank you. And tweeted this out too. Thank you so much, Monica. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody's ready for these stories because they're going to get crazier from here on out. How'd you guys like that first story? Hey, Don Dant the Fam. What's up? Thank you so much for joining. Oh, okay. Is it Satil? Oh, look who just joined me. It's Kelsey's Paranormal.
So sorry.
Scary ghost stories with a guest.
So sorry. I'm late.
Hear you.
You can't hear me?
Are you muted?
No.
Check your mic. Hey, Dreamwalking Angel, how's it going? Yes, I am all dressed up. Hey, Boomer D.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you guys hear her? What the hell?
That's weird.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, now I hear you.
I wonder why it was doing that.
It was my system. When I put it onto the voice mod, it disconnected. Oh, Gina, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate it. My apologies. Yeah, when I put in the voice mod, I disconnected the wrong thing.
You're good. I was just hoping it wasn't something to do with my mic. I was about to say, crap, I was just using it.
Then I can see everybody else are like, "Oh, it's fine, John." I was like, "Oh."
I told some people to come on over, so hopefully you got some people.
Yes, I see 28 people in the chat, guys. Thank you so much. And I love the little emoji with the super chat. That is so cool. So you ready to share some scary stories with me tonight? Hey, what's going on, Sean Fitzgerald? How's it going? Beth Plant, get the taters out of your ears. Yeah, I know.
Beth Plante. I always say that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Eli family. There's 31 in here? What? Wow. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
y'all for coming over.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to all Kelsey's fam. Thank you so much for joining. Native Grammy. We have Tammy Minda. We have Sassy Redhead. Thank you so much for joining. Guys, make sure you subscribe over to my channel and smash that like button. Share this out. Let's get some more people in here because these stories are going to be pretty awesome tonight because I got the voices to go too.
Sassy Redhead, which is Barbara. You would have to like message it to me so I could read it off because I wouldn't know how to say it right.
Oh, that's cool, Tony. Thank you so much for joining. Hey, D90 DF Network, what's going on? Thank you so much for joining. Yes, let's get ready for some stories. Kelsey, I will share with you the link where I get my stories, and that way you can choose them too.
Cool.
So you'll find the one that I sent you is the one that I just read. So you can just go to the website and you'll click scary stories at the top, and it'll bring you a whole genre of different scary stories.
Okay, let's see.
All right. So this one I actually don't think I've read before. So I'll start with this one while Kelsey gets familiar with the website. This one is called The Laughing Man. Oh no, I've already read that one before. It's super annoying. Okay, let's do this one. This one's called The Stairs. Two men named Banner and Griswold were hiking down a lonely road, but with no cars would stop for them. They tried. They were tired and sick of walking. The sun was setting fast and they needed a place to spend the night. Then they came down an old deserted road and found an abandoned house. They decided to seek shelter inside. The garden was overgrown with weeds and bushes. The front door creaked open on its rusty hinges, and a carpet of dust lay on the floor. The two men took out some tins out of their backpacks and ate a small meal, and then they unrolled their blankets onto the floor. They made themselves comfortable and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Griswold was suddenly awakened from a troubled sleep. It was dark, and he was shivering with the cold. All of a sudden, he heard a strange noise. It was a high-pitched whistling sound. And then he noticed his friend, Banner, standing in the shadows, listening intensely. He looked as if he was in some kind of a trance, and then the man slowly began to walk up the stairs. his boots clomping on the wood steps, the shrill of the whistle growing louder. Griswold wanted to call out his friend and tell him to come back, but the words died in his throat. Banner kept walking up the stairs and eventually disappeared from view. Suddenly, the footsteps had stopped, and Griswold held his breath. He waited and waited. Then he heard an awful scream that split the silence of the night and almost made his skin, almost made him jump out of his skin. Then the footsteps resumed, coming back down the stairs. And he came down the stairs. As he came down the stairs, Griswold was trembling with fear as he saw Boots walking slowly down the stairs. The moonlight, he could see the groping hand on the banister. A ghastly chill ran down his spine when he saw the other hand. It was clenching a bloody hatchet. He caught sight of his friend's face. It was deathly pale and his eyes were glazed over. His mouth was twisted in a ghoulish grin. Blood was dripping from his forehead with a huge gash that almost split his skull in two. Griswold let out a blood-curdling shriek and fled from the house. He ran blindly through the pitch night, desperately trying to get away from the old house. He ran and ran. All the time managing his friend chasing him with the bloody axe and his bloody head and his ghastly death grin. He ran and ran until he collapsed exhausted. In the morning, he managed to get into a police station and told the sheriff what he had seen. Together, they went back to the old house to check it out. Griswold's blood ran cold at the thought of what they might find. The sheriff opened the creaking door and looked inside. Griswold peered nervously over his shoulder. On the floor was his friend, laying there, face down in a pool of his own blood, his half almost caved in two. His dead hand was still clutching the handle of the hatchet. The blade of that hatchet was embedded into the floor at exactly the spot where Griswold's head had been laying the night before. The sheriff searched the house from top to bottom, but did not find another living soul. What's up, MC Slots? What's going on?
I'm still looking.
Nice to meet everybody. Well, it's nice to meet you, MC Slots. Hope you're having a good evening so far. Thank you so much for joining. We have 38 people in the house. Probably one of the bigger turnouts in a long time here on After Dark.
How many we got?
38 people.
Heck yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Sorry, I'm trying to find one.
Checking here. Jelly Duck's in the house. Thank you. I'm so glad that you like the story. Oh yeah, no problem, MC Slots. Guys, if you're new to my channel, hey, Ghostfinders321 is in the house. Thank you so much for joining. I'm not repeating that story. Come on, Boomer.
Boomer. Does he want to get hurt?
I don't know. Greg Man in the house. Dreamwalking Angels here. Woo! Alicia. All right.
Holy crap, that's a long story.
There's short stories too.
Yeah, that one was, it's a Halloween story, but I'm trying to find one that is not as long as that one, but it's still semi-long.
Yeah, if you go over to where it says ghost stories, it'd be like, or no, you go to horror stories. It should be the first small tab.
Okay. Which one did you read?
The one I just read was called, oh God, The Stairs. About fourth down on the list.
Well, see, I was thinking about reading that longer one, just because like the way it started out sounded good.
Okay, cool.
Even though it's long, but I mean, let's see if I can get myself to go through
There was one I started that was really good, and it was about 15 minutes long.
Jesus.
I
Hopefully
didn't
this one's not
pay
like that.
attention because when I first started doing this, they didn't have the little labelings that said 3-minute read. So
Oh,
I blindly went into it reading it for 15 minutes straight.
where did the
30
hell? There they are.
people in the chat. Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Was it? I think it was this one. Pretty sure it was this one. Okay, I suck at emphasizing, so we'll try. Where does it say how long the read is?
Should be at the bottom of every title.
Okay, 6-minute read. Okay, so that's not too bad.
No.
What if I read like, I will. I'm just kidding. I ain't gonna do all that. All right, let me start a cigarette.
Hey,
Let me see where
Patricia Haycraft, how's it going? Oh yeah, I don't trust the stairs either, Jelly Duck.
All right, you ready?
Ready?
I'm kind of nervous.
Don't
All
be.
The story is called Tap, Tap, Tap. I will tell you a story about something terrible that happened on Halloween. This story is true, so they say, and it made my hair stand on end just to hear it. It all happened many years ago in my town, which at the time was just a little town between the mountains of Catalonia, Spain. The town was little more than a small square with a church, a park, a prison, and a school, with all the houses clustered around. The town was very proud of their school since it had been voted the best school in the province. It was the morning of October 31st, Halloween, and a class of students were doing arts and crafts in their classroom. Some were cutting skeletons out of sheets of paper, some were painting vampire bats, and others were drawing pumpkins. The students were all aged between 8 and 9 years old. Their teacher was a beautiful young woman who had only been working at the school for 1 month. While the children were having fun preparing the Halloween decorations, the teacher turned the radio to listen to the weather forecast. She was planning to organize an outdoor Halloween party for the kids later that day and wanted to be sure that it wouldn't rain. Suddenly, the weather forecast was interrupted by a news bulletin. This is an important announcement. A convicted murderer has escaped from the local prison and is on the loose. He is described as armed and very dangerous. Please do not attempt to apprehend him. The police will. The teacher rushed across the room and switched off the radio. She did not want to alarm the children, but it was too late. The children had already heard the broadcast and were very frightened by the news. They knew that the prison was very near the school. The teacher tried to reassure them and told them not to worry. A few minutes later, the school principal made an announcement over the intercom. Attention, all teachers. We have been informed that the police are dealing with a very serious situation that is occurring right now in the town. All teachers are advised to lock the doors and windows of the classrooms until the police get the situation under control. I repeat, lock all doors and windows until further instruction. That is all. The teacher told the class to stay calm. She took out her key and locked the classroom door. Then she went around and closed every window, making sure that they were secure and nobody could get in. One little girl raised her hand and asked if she could go to the bathroom. The teacher didn't want to let her go, but the girl insisted. The teacher finally relented and gave her permission to go to the toilet. After all, it was unlikely that the murderer would come to the school. She told the girl that when she came back, she would have to give a secret knock at the classroom door. Then they would know that it was her, and they could let her back in. The code was 3 taps and 2 scratches. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Or scratch, scratch, I'm sorry. The girl left to go to the bathroom, and the teacher locked the door behind her. To take the children's mind off the scary situation, she started telling stories. After 20 minutes had passed and the girl still had not returned, the teacher began to worry. What's taking her so long? She wondered out loud. Suddenly, they could hear footsteps in the corridor. Everybody in the classroom froze. Then they heard a noise at the door. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. She's back, sighed the teacher in relief. She walked over, took out her key. What if it's not her? Asked one little boy who was shivering with fright. The teacher hesitated, her key inches from the lock. Again, they heard a noise at the door. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. It must be her, said the teacher. She put the key into the door and unlocked it. Suddenly, the classroom door burst open and a tall man was standing there. In his right hand, he was holding a knife, and in his left hand, he was holding the little girl's severed head. The escaped murderer came into the classroom, smiling from ear to ear. The children were trapped inside, and all that could be heard in the corridors of the school were screams of terror and squeals of pain. In the chaos, the teacher managed to break a window and jump out. She barely escaped with her life and crawled to safety. The children, however, were not so lucky. When the police arrived, they found the murderer sitting in the middle of the classroom. The floor, walls, and ceiling were covered in blood. Little body parts lay scattered around him. He had chopped up every child in the class into tiny pieces. They found the headless body of the little girl in the third stall of the bathroom. The police figured out what had probably happened that cold October day. The escaped prisoner must have been hiding in the toilet when the girl was asking for permission to go to the bathroom. He must have surprised her in the stall and forced her to tell him the password. When she did, he cut off her head. Today, the teacher is in a psychiatric hospital. She never recovered from the incident and can't stop repeating over and over again. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. The school was abandoned because parents refused to send their children there. There were too many bad memories. The school was left just the way it was when the murders occurred. They say that if you visit the old school building and go into the classroom, you can still see the blood still dripping down the walls. If you are brave enough, you could even go to the bathroom. Just tap 3 times and scratch 2 times on the door of the third stall. Then open it. You will see the headless body of the little girl sitting on the toilet. That was
Someone
creepy.
tells me that sounds like it's based off of a true story.
I know.
That's creepy.
That was really creepy. I didn't expect it to turn like that.
Yeah, these stories are really messed up. Like, I'm not joking. Like, these stories are pretty next level.
Yeah, that creeped me out a lot, really.
The more you read them, you're like, God, who wrote these?
Yeah, that was really good.
So this is a little short story. This one is called The Red Dress. All right. So, Granny locked me in the room. She won't let me out. She says it's because I was bad. Sometimes I do things. Ever since my mommy went away, my Grammy said my mommy went to heaven, but I don't know how she got there. I can still remember my mommy. I remember the long black hair and the dark eyes. I can remember her red lips and her white teeth. I remember her soft skin. I remember that she always I remember how the way she used to smell. Her red dress smelled just like her. It was hanging in the wardrobe in her closet. Granny keeps Mommy's room locked. She says I'm not allowed in there, but I know where she hides the keys. Sometimes when Granny falls asleep, I sneak in there and steal Mommy's red dress. I have my friend called Marianne. She lives across the street. Sometimes she comes over to play at my house. She came over today. We were playing with the dolls. Granny told me, "Don't go into your mother's room." I said, "Okay." When Granny took her nap, I told Marianne, "Let's play dress up." I took the keys from Granny's hiding place and unlocked the door to Mommy's bedroom. We went inside. It was too dark to see. "This is where my mommy lives," I said. "You don't have a mommy," said Marianne. That made me angry. I opened the wardrobe and took out the silk dress. "This is my mommy's dress," I said. I held it up and showed her. "It stinks," Marianne said. "It doesn't. No, it doesn't," I said. "It smells like flowers." "It smells like dead things," she said. That made me even more angry. "Who's that?" asked Marianne. She was pointing at the picture. "That's my mommy. Isn't she beautiful? She's ugly in her creepy eyes and her weird teeth." "No, she hasn't," I said. "It looks like the most beautiful girl in the world." "She looks like a dead thing," Marianne said. That made me angriest of all. I don't remember what happened then. I think Marianne was screaming. I don't remember why. It was dark and I couldn't see. I couldn't hear anything except Marianne screaming. I think something bad happened. Then I remember my Grammy shouting at me. She was crying too. She took the red dress off of me. She was really rough and kept hitting me. I was crying too. Granny fetched the washcloth and wiped the blood off my face. She took me over to show how bad I was. She dragged me all the way down the stairs and locked me in my room. I looked out my window and saw my Grammy in the backyard. She was burying something with a shovel. I must have done something really bad.
Creepy. Creepy.
Hey, Expert City.
Boomer said, "I want to hear the one where John dies at the end."
Expert City, I'm tonight. My special guest is Kelsey'S Paranormal. I'm not gonna be bringing anybody up. This is the first time I've ever had somebody join me on this stream. I've done over 40 episodes of After Dark, and this is the first time I've had a co-host. So, pretty cool.
I like it. Oh, I like it. It's fun. You know, I'm used to reading. I was telling Elias this. So I'm used to reading to children because I was a lead teacher for daycare for 14 2-year-olds. So this is a little different reading to adults and reading creepy stuff instead of reading books about teddy bears and bouncing balls and stuff. But Dad said, speaking of bouncing balls. Oh my God. But I've got another one. I didn't read it all the way through or anything. I just kind of skimmed it a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you, Expert City. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of this stream. Hey, Angsty Teen, what is up? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Angsty. I've not seen that name around yet. All right, so I've got a story. It's called The Thing. Okay. There were two young boys named Trevor and Will. They spent most of their summer vacation hanging around town, looking for things to do. One hot August night, the boys were sitting on a fence by the main road. There was a cornfield just across the road. Suddenly, Trevor spotted something in the field. In the darkness, it was difficult to make out, but he thought it looked like some kind of weird animal. He nudged his friend and pointed it in the direction of the strange-looking figure. Will said he could see it too. He wasn't sure, but mysterious things seemed vaguely human. The next thing they knew, the thing was gone. The boys craned their necks and scanned the field with their eyes. Out of the blackness came the thing. It slowly walked over the edge of the field before disappearing again. Trevor and Will looked at each other, puzzled. "What was that?" asked Will. I have no idea, said Trevor. No sooner had he said that than Trevor felt a clammy hand on his shoulder. He turned around and found himself staring directly into the hideous face of the thing. He let out a yell of terror and surprise. The rotting skin on the thing's face was coming off in places, revealing the bone underneath. For a moment, it just stared silently at Trevor with its dark, sunken eyes. Then it suddenly grabbed a hold of his arm. Trevor felt its fingernails dig into his flesh as he wriggled out of its grasp. The two boys leaped off the fence and ran down the road, screaming in horror. They didn't stop running until they reached their homes. They tried to tell their parents and friends about the thing that they had seen that night, but nobody believed them. When Trevor woke up the next morning, the scratches on his arms were still there. After a few days, they got worse and worse. Trevor got sick, and his parents took him to see a doctor. After examining his arm, the doctor told the boy it was infected and gave him some pills to take. Unfortunately, Trevor's condition got worse and worse. The infection spread to his entire arm, and it wasn't long before his flesh was rotting and falling off. He was taken to hospital, but no matter what the doctors did, no treatment seemed to work. The infection spread through his entire body. Trevor was confined to bed and started to waste away. It seemed like he was beyond help, and as the days went by, he steadily grew worse and worse. His anguished parents could only sit at his bedside and cry as they watched their beloved son slowly rotting away before their eyes. On the day that Trevor finally passed away, Will came to the hospital to visit him. When the boy walked into the hospital room and saw Trevor lying in bed, he was horrified. His friend looked exactly like the thing. That was creepy. Creepy.
You guys, thank you so much, everybody, for joining so far. That was a really creepy story.
That was.
Make sure to share this out, everybody. If you haven't already, make sure to smash that like button. Let people know that this stream does exist. Those who are horror fans love scary stories. Psycho Ghost Tracker said, "I'm good, man. Just got back from doing some investigations." That's pretty awesome. I look forward to doing some more investigations here pretty soon. October is going to be a busy month for the paranormal. I've got some plans going on. So, heck yeah, that's awesome. One of these days I'll make it out east and up into the Midwest. All right. So let's see. This one is another short story. This thing stirred beneath the earth. It pushes upwards, clawing its way to the surface. Clumps of mud fall from its mound as it scrambled out of the grave. Clumsily, it stood up and slowly looked around. The forest was bathed in moonlight, and the twisted trees rustled in the breeze. Where its eyes should have been were just hollow black sockets. Bites of rotting flesh clung to its skull. This thing stirred its moldering arms and legs as it shuffled forward. A small clearing in the forest. Mary lay on the grass. Both her hands bound between her back as she tried to scream, but her mouth had been gagged. Her brother Jeff was beside her, shovel in hand, digging her grave. He stopped for a moment, wiped the sweat from his brow. Scream all you want, he said. Nobody'll hear you in these woods. We're miles away from anywhere. With you out of the way, I can keep the entire inheritance for myself. As you know, I'm not the type of person who likes to share. Your husband can't help you now. He's dead. I murdered him weeks ago and buried him out here beneath the stars. Mary stared at him, her tears running down her cheeks. Her eyes pleaded for mercy. but Jeff just laughed at her despair. He grabbed her by the arms and threw her into the grave, then picked up the shovel and began to fill in the clumps of dirt and throw the dirt. Began to fill in, throwing clumps of dirt into on top of her. Just then, Jeff had heard a rustling in the breeze. He turned around and saw something that struck fear into his heart. The thing stumbled from the shadows and came towards him. Jeff fell to his knees, covering his mouth with the to stifle the scream of terror. While her brother was distracted, Mary managed to scramble out of the shallow grave. Frightened out of her wits, she crawled to safety. The thing grasped Jeff by the neck and squeezed tightly. As he screamed, the thing turned around, its fleshless face moved towards him. He tried to break free, but the thing's grip was unbreakable. He screamed and clenched to his rotting chest and in a deathly embrace. Marie watched in horror as the thing carried her brother into the shallow grave. It fell on top of Jeff, pinning him down with its heavy weight. She listened to her brother's terrified screams as the thing reached its rotting arms and clawed out the dirt, pulling it down to bury both of them. It wasn't long until the grave was filled, and after a while, the terrible screams ceased.
Creepy.
Yeah, it sounds like a zombie apocalypse.
Gotta love a good zombie apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. Never a dull moment.
Dream Walking Angel, Nalisha, I asked her if she was here. The only reason I asked is, Nalisha, I was going to ask if I was decent at telling stories because I feel like I suck. I feel like I'm just, like, I stutter so bad because I get mixed up with the words. I'm like,
yeah, especially if I haven't seen certain words in like a long, long time.
Yes, it's like, yeah.
And it doesn't help that it's also like almost midnight here, so it's like
I feel that. It's almost 2 a.m. here. Yeah. I've got a good story, and it's basically like I don't know if y'all what is that movie called? When a Stranger Calls. I don't know if you all have ever heard of that movie. It's about a babysitter and children. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So here we go. It's like a 3-minute read, which is not bad. All right. There was a young girl who was in need of a job, was able to find work as a babysitter for a couple who lived in a large, isolated old house. They were going out to see a movie that night and left the teenage boy or babysitter in charge of their 3 young children. The babysitter put the children to bed when it got late and then went downstairs to watch some television. She was just getting comfortable when she heard the phone ringing. When she answered it, all she heard was heavy breathing, followed by a man's voice asking, "Have you checked on the children?" Freaked out, she hung up the phone, trying to convince herself that it was just someone playing a practical joke on her. She went back to watching television, but about 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. She picked up the receiver and heard hysterical laughing from the other end of the line. Then the same voice asked, "Why haven't you checked on the children?" The babysitter slammed down the phone. The poor girl was frightened out of her wits and immediately called the police. The operator at the police station told the babysitter that if the man called again, she should try to keep him talking. That would give the police time to trace the call. A few minutes later, the phone rang a third time, and when the babysitter answered it, she heard the heavy breathing again. The voice on the line said, "You should really check on the children." The babysitter listened to him, laughing hysterically for a long time. She hung up the phone again, and almost immediately it rang again. This time it was the operator from the police station who yelled, "Get out of the house right now. The calls are coming from the upstairs phone." The babysitter dropped the phone in shock, and suddenly she heard heavy footsteps walking down the stairs. Without pausing for a second, she ran out of the house as fast as her legs would carry her. Just as she closed the front door behind her, a man's hand slammed against the glass. She screamed and ran out into the street just as a police car was pulling up outside. The police searched the house and found 2 children upstairs, hiding in a closet, crying uncontrollably. In the parents' bedroom, they found a bloody axe lying on the floor next to the upstairs phone. The back window was wide open and the curtains were blowing in the breeze. There was no sign of the madman who had made the phone calls. He had escaped in the night when the police arrived and managed to interrupt his horrible plan to kill the 2 children and the poor babysitter.
Yikes.
Greg said that was me calling. That's creepy.
All right, so let me find. A few years ago, there was a young man named Brian who went to the university. He didn't have enough money to live on campus, so he rented an apartment in and around the city. After he had been living there alone for a while, he began to notice some strange things happening. Often when he'd come back from college, the curtains in the bedroom would be drawn. When he distantly remembered leaving them open earlier that morning, at times some of his belongings seemed to have been moved, and other possessions were never to be found. These strange occurrences started to creep Brian out, so the young man decided to talk to his friends, Trisha and Alex, about the situation. They met him at a local diner over coffee. He told them about strange things that he had noticed. "Maybe I'm just paranoid," said Brian, "but I'm getting a sneaking suspicion that somebody is breaking into my apartment during the day while I'm at the university. And what?" interrupted Alex. "Rearranging your curtains and moving your stuff? Who in the right mind would be doing that?" "It's crazy, but you might have a stalker," said Trisha. "It's a possibility. If it's true, I think it's best that you contact the police." "What can the police do? They're not going to spend their time keeping your apartment under surveillance. Besides, there's no damage to any of your things. There's no sign of a break-in. There's no evidence. So what are my options? I can't just do nothing." I know what you can put your mind at ease. It's easy. Just get a video camera, set it up in your bedroom, and leave it running while you're at the college. If you really have a stalker, you can show the tape and the police evidence. That's a great idea," said Brian. "And if you really are just paranoid and crazy, you can show the tape to your psychiatrist," joked Alex. That night, Brian borrowed Trisha's camera and brought it home. The very next morning, he hid it discreetly under some folders on his desk. Before he went to college, he pressed a record button and left it running. During the day, while he was taking notes, the young man forgot all about his video camera. It was not until he arrived at home and went into his bedroom that he remembered his plan. Taking the video camera out of its hiding place, he pressed the button. He took out his mobile phone and called his friend. "Hey, Trisha, just got home. I'm going to watch the video." "Cool," said Trisha. "Don't hang up. Tell me if you see anything." He pressed play and watched the whole recording through the camera's tiny screen. He saw himself leaving for the university that morning and closing the bedroom door. There was nothing for a while. He pressed fast forward and scanned through the video. The room seemed empty. "Still nothing," he said. I can wait," replied Trisha. "Anyway, there's nothing worth watching on the TV at the moment." "Oh my God!" cried Brian as he passed the play button on the camera. What? Trisha begged excitedly. "The door's opening," he said. "It's a woman." "What is she doing?" said Trisha. "Just standing there, closing the door, walking around." "Oh my God, it's so weird. What does she look like? I can't see her face." She has long, black, stringy hair and a tattered dress. Do you know her? No, I don't recognize her at all. And she's carrying a knife, a big kitchen knife. She's going through my trash. Now she's picking up my clothes and sniffing them. Ugh, gross. What's wrong with her? She's going over to the closet. She just went into the closet. Fast forward and see if she does anything else. He scanned through the video for a while, but the room was empty. You know what that means, said Brian. I have the evidence now. I can go to the police and they'll take me seriously. I know, Trisha, they'll have to. Alex is totally going to freak out when he sees this. No, don't. He didn't believe you, but I did. I know, you're a good friend. Oh my God. What? What? Brian pressed it again. The door was opening, said Brian. Who is it? Okay, it's Brian. He's just coming home from college. But he watched himself on the screen, shutting off the camera. Let's go to the police now. I'll go with you. We can show them the tape. Okay, I'll meet you at the diner in 15 minutes as he grabbed the camera. Oh, wait. Just a minute. You said she got into the closet. Did she ever leave? Did she ever get out of the closet? A chill ran down Brian's spine. Behind him, he could hear the closet door creak open. Brian, get out of there, screamed Trisha, but it was too late. The phone went dead. She tried to call him again, but there was no answer. Later that evening, the police found the body of 18-year-old student laying in a pool of his own blood. He had been stabbed 27 times, and the camera was clenched in his cold, dead hands. And when the police examined the camera, they discovered the memory card was gone. No trace of the woman was ever found, and right now she could be hiding in your closet.
Dun, dun, dun. That was creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was finishing my noodles. I never did finish them.
Yeah, that story is creepy.
My lips are on fire. Oh, hold on a sec.
From those chips?
Oh.
Have a good night, Michael Campbell.
Good night, Michael. Oh, okay. I can do this. My lips are like so red.
That one was a good read, yeah, for sure.
That was definitely a good one.
It's one of my favorite stories.
Oh my God, Melisha.
There's no more room in my closet. It's just full of clothes and junk.
Oh my God, my lips. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read this one. It's called The Guests.
All right, have a good night, Monica.
Good night, Monica. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Excuse me.
Woo, fired. Shots fired.
Ooh. A young man and his wife were on a trip to visit his mother. Usually they arrived in time for supper. They'd gotten a late start and now it was getting dark. They decided to look for a place to stay overnight and go in the morning. Just off the road, they saw a small house in the woods. Maybe they rent rooms, the wife said. So they stopped to ask. An elderly man and a woman came to the door. They didn't rent rooms, they said, but they would be glad to have them stay overnight as their guests. They had plenty of room and they would enjoy the company. The old woman made coffee, brought out some cake, and the four of them talked for a while. Then the young couple were taken to their room. They explained that they wanted to pay for this, but the old man said he would just not accept any money. The young couple got up early the next morning before the hosts had awakened. On a table near the front door, they left an envelope with some money in it for the room. Then they went on to the next town. They stopped at a restaurant and had breakfast. When they told the owner where they had stayed, he was shocked. That can't be, he said. The house burned to the ground 10 years ago. The old man and woman who lived there died in the fire. The young couple could not believe it, so they went back to the house, only now there was no house. And all they found was a burned out shell. They stood staring at the ruins, trying to understand what had happened. Then the woman started screaming in the rubble. There was a badly burned table, and on the table was the envelope that they had left there that morning. That was shorter than I expected. That was good.
That was a good one.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, that one was. I've read that one before. It's creepy. All right. This is a super short one based off of an urban legend in Japan. There was a little girl who lived in an apartment building. One day, she told her mother that she was going to go out and play with her friends. Hours later, when the girl's mother went down to call her for dinner, she realized that her daughter was nowhere to be found. The mother asked all the kids who lived in the apartment building if they had seen her daughter. They all told her that they hadn't seen the little girl all day. The awful feeling began to sink in. The little girl was missing. The parents called the police and searched the surrounding area, and there was a search party that was launched. All of the parents from the apartment building joined in the search, but it was fruitless. In the end, the apartment complex began to complain about their drinking water supply. Whenever they turned their water taps on, hold on, I'm having issues with my internet connection. Okay, hope not. Okay, let's see if that fixes it. Okay, sorry. Months later, the residents of the apartment complex began to complain about their water supply. Every time they turned off the water taps in their own apartments, they realized a strange odor. Gradually, the apartment manager started to receive more and more complaints of the residents about the taste and smell of the water. He decided that something had to be done and told the janitor to test the water storage tanks on the roof. The janitor went to the roof to begin removing the lids from the water tanks and checking the chemical content in the water. He got to the last tank and lifted the lid and was hit with an overpowered stench. Glazing down in the murky depth, he was able to make out something floating in the water. It was the decomposing body of a child. After the police conducted the autopsy, they were able to confirm that it was the little girl who had gone missing 3 months before. It seemed like she was playing on the roof when the lid of the water tank was temporarily removed. Apparently, she looked into the tank and must have fallen into the water and drowned. The corpse lay there undisturbed for 3 whole months. For 3 months, the inhabitants of the apartment had unknowingly drank the water that the little girl's decomposing corpse was floating in. Whew.
Creepy.
And that's supposedly a true story.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No thanks. Okay, give me just a second.
Creepy. Thank you guys for the 25 people still watching. I really appreciate it.
Oh, bless me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a story. It is called White Wolf. In the mountains of West Virginia, there's a little place called French Creek. Many years ago, a man by the name of Bill Williams lived there. He was tall and slim and worked as a butcher. At the time, West Virginia had a problem. The timber wolves in the area had gotten out of hand. They were killing cattle and sheep, and the farmers couldn't stop them. The state of West Virginia put a bounty on wolves. They said they would pay hunters $10 for every wolf pelt they turned in. Bill Williams thought this was pretty good money, so he gave up his job as a butcher and turned his attention to hunting wolves. As it turned out, he was very good at it. Every year, he managed to kill over 500 wolves. At a bounty of $10 per pelt, that came to over $5,000, which was a huge amount of money in those days. After 5 years of this, Bill had killed so many wolves that there were barely any left in the area. They were almost becoming extinct, and the few that were left were smart enough to stay hidden. So Bill decided to retire. He said the wolves had made him rich, so he swore that he would never harm one again. Every day he just sat in the local store chewing tobacco, whittling on a piece of wood, and telling tall tales about his hunting expeditions to anyone who would listen. Everything went well for a few years. Then one day, a farmer burst into the store. He said that a white wolf had killed 2 of his sheep. He claimed he managed to get a shot at the wolf and hit it 3 times, but the bullets didn't have any effect on it. Soon, other farmers began spotting the white wolf all over the countryside, killing their livestock. They shot at it, but no matter how many times they hit the wolf, nothing seemed to stop it. The people begged Bill to do something about it, but he refused. The white wolf went on killing, and it seemed that nothing was safe. The bloody, half-eaten corpse of cows and sheep littered the countryside. Then one night, the wolf came into Bill's yard and killed his pet cow. Bill was so angry that he forgot about his promise to never harm another wolf. He swore he would get revenge, and the next morning he went out and bought a young lamb to use as bait. He took it out into the hills and tied it to a tree. Then he backed off about 50 yards and he hid behind another tree. With his shotgun in his lap, he sat there and lay in wait. After a few days, when Bill didn't return, the people in town went looking for him. Finally, they came across the young lamb. It was still tied to the tree and seemed to be unharmed. Then they spotted Bill. He was slumped against the other tree, but he was dead. His throat had been torn open. There were no signs of a struggle. His gun hadn't been fired, and there were no tracks in the soil around him. As for the white wolf, it was never seen again. But some people say that when the moon is full, you can still hear it howling.
Wow.
That's a good one, too. Well, I'm never killing a wolf.
Yeah, whatever you do, do not kill wolves. You are going to get messed up big time. All right, this one is called The Night Visitor. There is a young boy who lived with his parents in a small, rundown apartment. They lived in a very bad part of the city, where there was a lot of crime in the area. Their apartment was on the ground floor of the building, and it was badly in need of repair. Some of the windows were cracked and broken, and the doors were never locked properly. The boy often had problems sleeping because he could hear all the noise from the street below. He begged his parents to fix the window and the locks on the doors, but they told him they couldn't afford it. Both of his parents had worked long hours just to make ends meet. One night, as the boy lay sleeping peacefully in the room, he was suddenly awakened to a strange scratching noise. Sitting up in bed, straining to hear and listen to what was going on, but he could not figure out where it was coming from. The bedroom was almost pitch black and the blinds were drawn, shutting out of the glare from the street light outside. The boy made his way out of bed into the darkened hallway to his parents' room. "Mom," he whispered. "Mom, there's a weird sound in my room." His mother woke up and groaned. "Oh, it's probably the tree branch snapping against your window." "But there is no trees outside my window," replied the boy. Oh, it's probably the rats in the walls, his mother mumbled. Leave me alone, I'm trying to sleep. The boy reluctantly went to his room, but he was nervous and afraid. He got into bed, closed his eyes, and tried to relax. But just as he was about to sleep, he heard the scratching noise again. This time they were louder. But he couldn't. But he still couldn't tell where they were coming from. He tried to ignore them, but it was almost impossible to sleep. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his back. Ah! He jumped out of bed and cried out loud. It felt like he had been bitten on the back by some kind of an insect. He ran into the parents' room. Dad, he whispered, something bit me. His father rubbed his eyes and rolled out of bed, examined the son's back, and found a small puncture mark. There were 2 droplets of blood seeping out of the wound. It doesn't look like an insect bite, he said. Then what is it? Asked the boy. The father didn't reply. Instead, he went to the boy's bedroom, and his son followed closely behind. He switched on the light and inspected the bed. There was a small hole in the sheet, and some of the stuffing in the mattress was coming out. I know what happened. One of these springs in the mattress must have poked through. His dad flipped the mattress, and what he found filled him and shocked him in horror. There was a long knife sticking from the bottom of the mattress. Out from the bed, they found mud and dirt on the carpet. The bedroom window was locked, and outside there was fresh footprints in the muddy grass. During the night, somebody had slipped into the boy's room through an unlocked window, lay under his bed. The mystery scratching sound that he heard was somebody laying under his bed, stabbing through his mattress with a knife, trying to kill him.
Creepy. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun.
All right, I got one.
All right.
Let's see. Let me get to it. It's called Landlady, and it's an hour read. I'm just kidding.
Hey, welcome, Blue Idaho. Thank you so much for joining.
My boy Blue. All right, so it's called The Landlady. A 17-year-old boy named Billy Weaver went to London to find a job. When he got off the train carrying his suitcase, he went looking for somewhere to stay for the night. There was a line of tall houses on each side of the street, and all of them looked identical. Billy noticed a sign in one window that read Bed and Breakfast. He crossed the street and peered through the window. There was a fire burning in the hearth, and a little dog was curled up asleep on the carpet. He saw the room was nicely furnished. There was a piano, a big sofa in the corner. There was a parrot in a cage. It looked like a nice place to stay. He rang the doorbell, and before he even had time to take his finger off the button, the door swung open, and a middle-aged woman was standing there. She gave him a little bit of a fright. Come in, she said with a welcoming smile. Billy went inside, and she closed the door behind him. I was looking for a room for the night, he said. It's all ready for you, my dear, she said, and she took his coat and hung it up in the hallway. £5 a night, including breakfast. It was very cheap, and the woman seemed nice and friendly. She reminded him of his mother. We have the place to ourselves, she said, as she led the way upstairs. It isn't very often I have visitors. You see, I'm inclined to be just a teeny-weeny bit choosy in particular. Billy followed her up to the second floor. Here's your room, she said. I hope you do like it. Thank you, Billy said. The bed was made, and the bedcloths had been neatly turned back on one side, all ready for someone to get in. I'll leave you to unpack your things, she said. Then you can come downstairs and sign the guest book. She gave him a little wave of the hand and went quickly out of the room and closed the door. The landlady was a bit odd, but that didn't bother Billy. After all, he was harmless, and she was obviously a kind and generous soul. After unpacking his suitcase and washing his clothes, he went downstairs in the living room. The fire was still burning in the hearth, and the little dog was still sleeping in front of it. The guest book was lying open on the piano, and she picked up the pen and wrote down his name and address. There were 2 other entries above him on the page. One was a Christopher Mulholland from Cardiff. The other was Gregory Temple from Bristol. That's funny, he muttered to himself. Those names ring a bell. Where have I heard them before? Christopher Mulholland, Gregory Temple. Such charming boys, said a voice behind him. He turned around to see the landlady coming to the room with a tea tray in her hands. I'm sure I've read those names before in the newspaper, he said. They weren't famous, were they? Famous, the landlady said as she put the tray down and sat on the sofa. Oh, no, I don't think they were famous. They were just young and handsome. My dear, exactly like you. Come over here now, dear, and sit beside me on the sofa and have a nice cup of tea before you go to bed. I'm almost positive it was in the newspaper. I saw them, Billy said. I'll think of it in a second, I'm sure I will. Come on over here now and sit next to me and warm yourself in front of this lovely fire. Come on, your tea's all ready for you. She patted the empty place beside her on the sofa, and she sat there smiling at Billy. He sat down on the edge of the sofa, and she placed his teacup on the table in front of him. There we are, she said. How nice and cozy this is, isn't it? Billy started sipping in his tea. She did the same for a while. Neither of them spoke, but Billy could feel her eyes watching him. Mr. Mulholland was a great one for his tea, she said at length. Never in my life have I seen anyone drink as much tea as dear sweet Mr. Mulholland. When did he leave? Billy asked. Leave? She said. But my dear boy, he never left. He's still here. Mr. Temple is also here. They're on the 3rd floor, both of them together. Billy set down his cup slowly on the table and stared at his landlady. She smiled back at him and patted his knee. How old are you, my dear? She asked. 17, he replied. 17, she cried. Oh, it's the perfect age. Mr. Mulholland was only 17, but he was a bit shorter than you are, and Mr. Temple was a little older. He was actually 28, and yet I never would have guessed if he hadn't told me. There wasn't a blemish on his body. His skin was just like a baby's. Billy picked up his cup and took another sip of tea. He stared at the parrot in the cage and noticed that it wasn't moving at all. Is that parrot stuffed? He asked. You know something? It had me completely fooled. I could have sworn it was alive. Who did it? I did it myself, said the landlady. Have you seen my little Basil as well? Billy looked at the dog curled up in front of the fireplace, and suddenly he realized that the whole time it had been just as silent and motionless as the parrot. He reached out and touched the dog. It was hard and cold. Wow, he said, that must be very difficult. Not at all, she said. I stuff all my pets when they pass away. Will you have another cup of tea, my dear? No, thank you, Billy said. He didn't like the tea. It had a strange taste, something like bitter almonds. The room was beginning to feel very hot, and Billy was having trouble catching his breath. I'm glad you signed the guest book, said the landlady, because I'm very grateful. Later on, if I forget what you were called, I can come down here and look it up. I still do that almost every day with Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Temple, Billy said. Haven't there been any other guests here except them in the last 2 years? No, my dear, she said with a smile. Only you.
Ooh, that was a good one.
That was creepy.
Definitely was. I'm well spooked but kicking. Well, welcome, A.H. Ruth. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your support, and thank you so much for coming to the live stream tonight. All right, guys, so I got to pick a new story here.
Oh, Leah and Ladybug said, y'all do such a good job reading these stories.
This one is called The Cold Man. I had a strange dream last night. It was the kind of dream where it all seems too real. Right up to the point where you wake up in a cold sweat. Last night when I was laying in bed drifting off to sleep, an uneasy feeling came over me. It was almost as if I had been watched, but more than that. It felt like somebody was in the room with me. As disturbing as the feeling was, I could not keep it I could not keep myself from falling asleep. I don't recall how the dream began exactly, but the first thing I remember is walking out of my house. All my neighbors were gone, and I found myself on a long, empty road. It was cold and dark, and there was nobody else around. I felt completely lost and alone. I wasn't afraid. I don't know how long I was on the road, but I felt like I was walking endlessly. Eventually, I reached a fork in the road and stopped. I realized I wasn't alone anymore. A voice called me from down the road.
I'm sorry to see you here, but it's good to see you.
I recognized the voice. It was an old friend from childhood, someone I haven't seen in years. He looked a little different from what I had remembered. Though we were both the same age, he seemed a lot younger than me somehow. He was very pale and had dark circles around his eyes, and his lips were blue. "What are you doing here?" I asked.
I came here to warn you. There's a man in your house.
"What do you mean?" I said. "I was just there."
You don't understand. He's in your house right now.
I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was curious. "Who?" I asked.
The cold man. He comes to people at night when they're really afraid. He waits to be noticed. Then he makes his move. You know that chill that you get on your back sometimes when something really scares you? That's him standing behind you.
What does he do once you notice him?" My friend looked down.
Whatever you do, don't let him in.
He had cautioned. "What do you mean?"
He can be close to you forever, my friend exclaimed. He'll walk around your house at night. He'll even stand in your room while you're asleep, like he's there right now. He can know where you are. He can be even looking at you right now, but he won't find you unless you let him.
"How does he find you? I mean, how do you let him in?" My friend glanced over his shoulder, fruitlessly, as he was worried that somebody might overhear. Leaning in close, he whispered in my ear,
If you see him, if you hear him, or if you suddenly start to feel very, very cold, don't move. Don't talk to him, don't acknowledge him, and don't ever let him in.
"I don't understand," I pleaded. "How do I get rid of him?"
You can't, my friend had said.
Sadly. "Look, I'm already out of time." "Out of time?" I repeated, not sure what you mean. My friend shook his head. His eyes were shriveling. Just then a dark figure started to come up from the shadows. "My time is up." Oh.
My time is up. Whatever you do, just don't let him in. Don't answer it.
Before I could ask any more, my friend had enveloped into the shadows. Something pulled him into the darkness. I could not see him anymore. I was about to run after him when I was awakened by a loud noise. When I opened my eyes, I found myself sitting straight up in my bedroom, fully dressed. I could have sworn I was undressed when I went to bed. My shoes were covered in a thin film of dust, and my feet were sore. I felt so cold. I could hear a ringing noise when I went down. I saw that I was holding my phone. I was about to answer it when I remembered my friend's word in the dream. I didn't answer it. Eventually stopped ringing. I rubbed my hands together. The room was cold as ice. The feeling was like I was being watched by something strong, and the energy was something I had never experienced before. I could hear something moving inside of my closet, but I did not dare to move. I just kept my eyes closed and waited. Eventually, I heard footsteps from inside my closet. They grew faint and more faint as if walking away down some unseen hallway. Where there was footsteps finally stopped, the coldness dissipated and the room returned to normal. He didn't get me this time. If my friend was telling the truth, this thing was in my closet. If the thing in my closet was who I think it was, I must never let him in. I know he'll be back. I don't know what happened to my friend, but I hope people remember his warning. If you feel a cold while reading this, don't be alarmed. If you hear something in your house, just ignore it. If you can't afford to let him find you, don't let the cold man in.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love these. I was telling Melisha, this is what I've needed. Like, I love reading, but I needed something creepy like this. Like, gets me in the mood for Halloween and fall. Love it. You would think that us doing our paranormal stuff would get us in the mood enough, but no.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
H. Ruth, I am here in Central California, well, Central Coast of California, just north of Los Angeles. Okay, I won't move. Been watching nearly an hour yet. Been watching it's nearly the witching hour, and yet her eyebrows are sleek. I'm shook.
I'm from Tennessee.
Are you? Because you're the only 10S.
Oh, well, thank you, John.
Sorry, I made it. Hey, Benny Loco, how's it going? Mother Nature's in the house, pimping that shiznit.
Mother Nature. Woohoo!
Irish Whiskey Paranormal, what's crackin' lackin'?
What's crack lacking?
Wow, we have 34 people in the chat still, an hour and 32 minutes into this. Thank you guys so
That
much.
is awesome. That is awesome.
So how did you guys like the little voice narration? I tried to mess with some different voices on my control board.
I like it.
I think it'll become really cool in the future.
I like it, but then Greg said something that cracked me up.
Let the games begin.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Okay, I think I found my next voice.
Greg said, he said, Luke, I'm your father. Oh my God. Well, I've got one.
Luke, I am your father.
I want that.
I know.
How do you get that?
It's called Voice Mod.
Is it just like something you downloaded?
Yeah.
Oh, I might be getting that. What Greg?
So you can talk like this.
Greg, where does your aunt and uncle live in Tennessee? I'm in Knoxville. All right, I got one. Well, let me get to it. Jesus. Wow, how are you doing? Okay, there we go. It's called Till Death Do Us Part.
Marry me. Sorry, I'll stop.
That's another good pickup line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Bill and Mabel disregarded the tall tales they heard from their neighbors. They didn't believe in ghosts and weren't about to start now, just because some silly neighbors believed in the paranormal. But Mabel was curious about the history of the house, so she contacted the real estate agent and told him she had heard odd stories about the house being haunted. The realtor said that by law he should have disclosed the history of the house. Apparently, there had been a string of horrible murders committed in the house years before by an insane serial killer. The murders were only discovered after the serial killer died. He had been smoking in bed when he fell asleep and accidentally dropped the cigarette on his bed sheets. His bed caught fire and he burned alive without ever waking up. His corpse had lain undiscovered in the house for years. Eventually, the police had broken in and found his decomposing body lying in bed. They dug up the garden and found the remains of his victims. The story unnerved Mabel, and she began having nightmares about the killer. She told her husband that she was beginning to believe that the stories of the haunting could be true. Mabel frequently complained about the feeling that someone was in the room during the night, and sometimes she would wake suddenly during the night, convinced that she had felt cold, bony hands touching her. Bill thought Mabel was just being silly, but to keep his wife happy, he promised to stay up late and keep watching over her. Bill was confident that if she woke up feeling the cold, bony hands and nobody was there, she would realize that it was all in her imagination. True to his word, Billy stayed up the whole night. Around midnight, the room began to feel uncomfortably warm, and he was gripped by the feeling of an overwhelming thirst. Leaving Mabel sleeping softly, he went downstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Upstairs in the darkened bedroom, Mabel awoke with a start. She heard footsteps outside the door, and then someone came into the room. She assumed it was her husband, Bill. She leaned over in bed to give him a kiss, but her lips touched something cold and bony. Bill heard the most horrible screaming coming from Mabel's room. He rushed upstairs and screamed in horror at what he found. Mabel's dead body lay stretched out on the bed. Her face was twisted in an expression of utter terror. Bill rushed downstairs and called the police. Several nights later, Bill was finally sleeping peacefully until around midnight. Again, feeling very thirsty, he went downstairs and got a glass of water. When he went back upstairs, he was surprised to see a large lump in the bed. It was moving. He ran over and ripped off the bed sheets. The ghost of Mabel sat up in bed. She had tears in her eyes, and her cheeks were hollow and sunken. The dark form of another man crouched beside her, a terrible skeletal man with the face of a desiccated corpse. The skeleton man clutched Mabel's head in his cold, bony grasp and forced her to kiss him. Tears streamed down Mabel's face. In her hand, she held the biggest knife Bill had ever seen. "Didn't you promise, Billy? Didn't you promise? Till death do us part? You promised," screamed Mabel as she floated towards the frightened and paralyzed Bill.
Well, Bill.
Marry me.
Oh, Lord.
That was great.
That is scary. All right, I gotta find another one. This site has so many stories, I'll never get through them all. Oh, yeah, this one's gonna be good. I haven't read this one in a while. The policeman sat down on the sofa with his pen and notebook in his hand. An old lady came in with a cup of tea and sat down in front of the table with them.
Before you take me down to the police station, perhaps I should tell you why I did it, officer. The truth is that it was mostly for the company. It gets very lonely when you're an old lady, and people seem to want to take advantage. People never want to seem to spend any time with me. I just enjoy sitting here talking.
The policeman stared at her impassively. Miss Ordway was the very first. Miss Ordway was the very first. Oh, wait, never mind.
Miss Ordway was the very first. She had sat down on the comfy armchair, I remember like it was yesterday. She came to my door selling beauty products. I invited her inside and made her a cup of tea. I went to the kitchen to fetch my axe, and then when she least expected it, I crept up behind her and chopped off her head. The next one was Mr. Billingham. He was a plumber. He came to fix my leaky pipes. When he was taking a break from work, I made him a cup of tea and then took out my axe and chopped off his head too. The third one was the paperboy, little Jimmy Watkins. I took him inside and and while I looked for my purse, he didn't drink the tea, so I gave him a plate of cookies. Children cannot resist cookies. While he was munching away on the cookies, I began to chop away at him with my axe, and his head came off too. I stuffed the heads and placed them on my mantelpiece. I talked to them day and night. I carry conversations with them. It helps with my loneliness. The only problem is of what to do with the bodies. I could not stuff them all. It would be too much work. So I came up with an ingenious solution. What did I do? It was simple. I stuffed the body and used the heads and when I was tired of talking to them, I would take them off the head and place them on the mantelpiece and put the other head on the other body. Isn't that clever? The policeman did not answer. I'm getting a little bored with this conversation, officer, the little lady said with a sigh. She took the policeman's head off and put it off in the mantelpiece, and she took the saleswoman's head and put it on the body. Good afternoon, Mrs. Ironway, she said. It's nice to see you again. How have you been?
Dun, dun,
That Dreamwalking Angel shouldn't ask her too many questions. Greg Mann said, John, you sound like my aunt. Did it sound like an old lady?
Slightly.
Oh, okay.
I have to find a story. Give me a second.
John, your voice is meant to break, not get higher. It was supposed to be a man to woman conversion voice, but apparently it didn't work.
Ooh. Let's see.
I'm so glad you guys like the narration.
Trying to figure one out. Oh, neat.
Wow, 32 people in the house. Thank you,
Hey,
guys.
that is awesome.
This late at night?
That's wonderful. Because it's almost 3 a.m. over here.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. I mean, it's almost midnight here on the West Coast, so I could only imagine the East Coast.
Let's see. I don't know which one to choose.
I know there's people here from Australia, people from the UK.
It's awesome to have you guys on here.
Definitely.
Let's see. That looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, guys, if you have a horror story that you would like that you've written or want to have read on this stream, send them in on Facebook or to my email. You can go to my website and submit your stories, and I'll put my website here in the chat. It's www.hsflparanormal.com.
Thank you for being here, Tammy. And Dreamwalking Angel said, HSFL Paranormal, please type in the chat the app you are using to change your voice. Thank you.
It's called Voice Mod.
Voice Mod. Let's see.
I'm gonna have to grab my link from my own website, damn it.
Where's the sharpshooter?
Wow, I had no idea. Hey, Sassy Redhead, have a great rest of your night.
Good night, Barbara.
There it is, guys. There's my website. Go check it out, and you can submit your scary stories if you want to have them read on this channel. So,
hey, Alyssa.
should be under the contact. You should be able to send an email straight to my, straight to my channel email, which is hsflparanormal@gmail.com.
You heard the man. Send him scary stories and stuff.
Ah, no links for the no caps for the link. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I've got one.
Or you can submit them on Facebook too,
That's true.
which is also at HSFL Paranormal. Oh, thank you, Native Grammy. You got my Facebook, my Twitter, and my website. Oh yeah. It's all good. All right, guys. So it's your turn to read a story, right?
Yes. Okay. So this is a 5-hour read. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Wouldn't you die? Oh God. Hey, there's you some watch time though. You can always just
Oh,
go
yeah.
take a nap. All right. It's called Old Lady.
Ooh.
The policeman sat on the sofa with his pen and notebook in his hand. The old lady came in with a cup of tea and set it down on the table in front of him. Before you take me down to the station, perhaps I should tell you why I did it.
Oh, I
Officer.
think I just read this one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was this one, wasn't it? Dang it. Okay, hold on, guys. Hold up. John's reading stories that I should have read. I'm just kidding. I gotta find one.
Why I did it. Sounds like Fireman Bill, Jim Carrey's character.
Crazy lady.
Yeah. She's one who flew over the nut job's nest. Dreamwalking Angel said, I'm an old lady.
I'm gonna find a Halloween story.
Alicia, you're not an old lady. Come on.
No, Alicia. No.
Alicia's awesome.
Yes. And she's awesome at reading.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love listening to her.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
Maybe once a month I'll start having a special guest on After Dark.
That would be good.
Ooh, what do you guys think about that?
That would be good.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Except for the last week of the month, I will be going to do a live Halloween special.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. I'm not going to say where until we're there.
Ooh, Tennessee?
Maybe. No, just playing.
I would literally shit. I'd be so excited.
I want to go to Tennessee so bad.
Seriously though, you'd love it here.
The weirdest place I've ever been to in Tennessee was this little town off of I-40 called Bucksnort, Tennessee.
It almost sounded like you said butt sore.
Butt sore, Tennessee? No. Bucksnort, Tennessee.
No, there's a few
I
places.
saw an old guy punch this old black lady in the face at a gas station, and I left.
That makes pretty much good sense there. No, but there's like some really cool places that are around Knoxville, like just right outside of Knoxville, that you would love. And there's one specifically that you would really love. It's Greenback Castle.
What the fuck?
The Greenback Castle's where you need to go.
Oh, I want to go to Greenback so bad.
Oh my God, you'd love it. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. And Elkmont. You'd like Elkmont a lot too. All right, I've got one. All right, it's another 5-hour read, and just kidding. It's called Maggot.
Ooh.
One bright moonlit night in a small Yorkshire village, a postman named Mr. Mullins was on his way home. As he was walking past the graveyard, something caught his attention. He noticed a luminous glowing kite. I should have said not light, I think. Light coming from one of the graves. It was the fresh grave of a villager by the name of Peters, who had recently died. When he looked closer, he realized that it was a large slimy blob that was crawling out of the grave, and it was wriggling back and forth as it emerged. What?
Green Bay's in the chat?
Huh?
Green Bay Wacky? Huh. Sorry,
I'm
no.
not,
Continue on.
seeing him.
No, Green Bay's not here.
Maybe they were talking to. Maybe they're in two chats at once. I don't know. That's all I can think. Okay, where was I? Peters had recently died. When he looked closer, he realized there was a large slimy blob that was crawling out of the grave, and it was wiggling back and forth as it emerged. It looked like a huge luminous maggot. The ghastly thing seemed to exude pure evil. With a mixture of horror and fascination, Mr. Mullins watched as the maggot slithered along the ground, leaving a gleaming trail of disgusting slime behind it. Snaking in and out around the tombstones, the monstrous thing crawled out of the graveyard, and when it came to the Vicar's house nearby, it disappeared from sight. The following day, Mullins told his wife and his friend about his chilling experience. That night, the three of them decided to go down to the graveyard. They wanted to see if they could figure out what the hideous apparition might be. They waited and waited, and just as it had the night before, the dreadful worm oozed out of Peter's grave and made its way out of the cemetery. As they watched, the thing crawled to the door of the Vicar's house again and disappeared. The next day, the Mullins and their friends got a severe shock when they heard the Vicar and his entire family had suddenly become seriously ill. As the hours ticked by, their condition grew worse and worse. By sunset, the Vicar and his entire family were dead. The doctor who examined them said they had died of the ptomaine poisoning, or ptomaine poisoning. This is a type of poisoning that is caused by exposure to oh my god, I cannot read. Putrefying corpse. Mullins, his wife, and their friend were more determined than ever to get to the bottom of the horrible apparition origin. After dark the night, they ventured once again to the village graveyard to keep watch. Again, the hideous glowing maggot wiggled out of the grave and slithered between the tombstones, leaving a trail of slime in its wake. This time, as they followed it, they saw it go to the house of the village blacksmith. When it got to the front door, it suddenly vanished. The next morning, the blacksmith and his whole family became ill, and just like the Vicar and his family, they died before sunset of the same exact poisoning. Frightened and more baffled than ever, Mullins and his companions decided to keep watch again that night, but nothing happened. Although they were revealed, they decided to continue, or relieved, I'm sorry. They decided to continue their nightly vigil at the graveyard for at least another week just in case. 10 nights after it had first appeared, the glowing maggot emerged from the grave again and crawled out of the graveyard. Mr. and Mrs. Mullen realized, to their horror, that was going in the direction of their house. They followed it, and when the maggot got to the front door of their house, it disappeared. The couple were horrified, and they ran in their house. Looking around, they found no trace of the maggot, and then when they went upstairs, they found their 5-year-old son sleeping peacefully in his bed. The couple breathed a sigh of relief and went back downstairs. The next morning, however, when Mullins and his wife went to wake their son, they found he was extremely sick. The little boy was seized by a fit of vomiting, and within an hour he was dead. Stricken with grief and filled with anger, Mullins and his wife wanted revenge. The grave the maggot had crawled out of was the grave of a man named Peters. After asking around, they found out that in life he had been a mean, vicious, and detestable man. Detestable. Jesus, I can't read. He had made his life miserable for his neighbors and had a particular dislike of both their Vicar and the blacksmith. That night, they paid another visit to the graveyard, and this time they were armed with shovels and gasoline. They dug up the grave of Peters, pulled out the coffin, and cracked open the lid. Holding up a lantern, they peered inside and saw the face of the corpse. Mr. Peters grinned back at them. His body had not decayed at all, and there was a look of malevolence and intense evil frozen on his twisted face. They took one look at him and slammed the lid down in horror. After regaining their nerves, they dragged the coffin to a nearby field, threw back the lid, and poured gasoline all over the corpse. Mullins struck a match and threw it on the corpse, which bursted into flames. Mullins and his wife stood there watching the blaze until the coffin and the corpse inside were reduced to ashes. After scattering his remains with a shovel and sprinkling them with holy water, they returned to the grave and filled it in again. Although they kept a vigil for several days afterwards, the strange glowing maggot of doom was never seen again. And I don't know why I was having such a hard time reading, so. Anyway, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. I love that story. That one's good. Sharp, what's going on, bro?
I kind of figured it was Militia. Yeah, what's going on, James?
Dude, Sharpshooter, you're my favorite mod, dude. You rock it.
For real.
And I always appreciate you.
For real. We were just asking about where you were because we hadn't seen you. We saw you in mine.
I don't know what's going on with him. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too. I hope so too.
I think he was getting upset that people were posting my links because that's usually what he does. Dude, Sharp, what's going on, man? Hit me up on Twitter, bro.
He was here, I guess in the beginning he was, yeah. And then he left for a little bit. I didn't know where he had went.
Okay, Irish, I'll definitely help you out with that. I don't know. He said he's leaving.
Huh. Well, hopefully we can figure out what's going on with him.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay.
No, me too.
For real though, Beth. Who do I need to beat up for Jay? Seriously. It seems like always someone's trying to mess with him. And it pisses him off and it gets him in a bad mood. And it hurts his feelings and he's gone.
Sharp,
I hate that.
I always need you, bro. If it wasn't for you, dude, I wouldn't have been able to grow my social media.
And honestly, screw the people that keep putting you down. If they don't need you, they don't need you. But we do. We like you. We love you. We want you here.
We always appreciate you, bro.
Yes. Screw the other ones. If someone's giving you a hard time, you let me know. He just got his stuff fixed too on his YouTube. He was having trouble with that, and I was hoping everything was okay then, because people keep messing with him. People keep making comments, little comments here and there about him and stuff, and you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it ticks him, you know. It upsets him.
Yeah.
It would upset me too. People are rude.
Yeah, they are. Sharp, just want to let you know, bro, I love you. The chats are empty without you. I couldn't have grown my YouTube channel without you. You're always my first line of defense on my channel, and I just want to let you know, dude, and you're awesome, and I do love you. So, Hit me up on Twitter and let me know what's going on.
Same here. Hey, Fearless. Aw.
Sharp, I always need you, bro. People are just wanting to help with links, but you're always my #1 mod, no matter what. Hey, Fearless Life. How's it going? Alright. Sorry, James, if I did anything wrong, dude. I love you. I hope everything's fine.
Same here. I hate to say this, but I wasn't paying attention to the chat for a little bit
I know I
because
wasn't either.
I was reading and stuff. So I apologize if you were trying to talk to me or anything, or if something happened.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him, but I hope you're alright, bro.
It won't let me. I can't go back too far on the chat,
Yeah.
but
Yep. Big hug and love to everybody.
yeah, he's been in here some tonight. And then
Yeah.
for a minute, he was gone just for a minute, though. I mean, I know
And
he
when he
mods
came
for
back,
others.
he kind of just was like, he got all upset.
I know he mods for others, though. So, like, I know that he
Oh.
was probably busy.
Yeah, he's modding for like 20 people at the same time because he's a badass.
For real. I don't know how he does it. Two's enough for me. I'm like going back and forth to 2 streams, and I'm like, oh God, how does James do this?
I know.
He is definitely the mod god.
Alright.
That's the only thing I can think too, Beth. And whoever messed with him in another stream,
Yeah.
that's just the wrong way.
No, Tammy, you didn't do anything wrong. I think somebody else was messing with him in another stream. He's
That's
just having a
probably
rough night.
I don't think honestly, I don't think anyone can
Here.
compare to how quick he is at doing stuff.
Oh, hell no.
Like, no offense to any mods. That's
Yeah.
you know, including my mods. It's like,
That's why he's called the mod god.
seriously, James is like on top of that. Like, literally all he has to do is blink and it's up. Seriously, he's awesome. He rocks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope he's in here listening at least and knows that he's loved. Everyone in this chat has said nothing but kind things about him. Yeah, I know, right, Kim? I mean, my computer's not old by any means, but it's still like I have to go back and forth to notes, and he has, I think, like several screens that he uses. Oh, for sure. Exactly, Dawn. Yeah, I hope everything's okay with them.
Did he delete his Twitter page?
I hope not. No?
Battery blocked my Twitter.
He said tweets aren't loading right. It says tweets aren't loading right now.
Yeah,
But it says he follows me.
that's what I thought. I thought he followed me too.
It says it right here that he is on mine. And
It says I'm not allowed to see his tweets. Only confirmed followers are
he
allowed.
unfollowed me too.
What? He might have gotten hacked again.
You're trying to follow a user that doesn't exist.
What the hell? I'm
What in the
confused.
world is going on?
Yeah, I have no idea. That is strange.
I hope he didn't get hacked.
I hope not either. Batteries just had it with YouTube.
I mean, he's been sick and tired of their crap lately.
But I didn't think I did anything wrong to him.
Same here. We were just talking earlier and everything was fine.
Fearless Afterlife, Trisha, where are you guys from? I am from Central California, Central Coast of California. But previously I lived in the South. Texas born, California raised. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. Thank you so much, guys. 30 people still in the house. I cannot believe it. Yeah, sometimes YouTube gets crazy. I totally agree.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned.
Me too.
Oh, you can't even find him on Facebook? It's like he's been cleared out of everything, huh? Wow. I don't understand that. Anyway. James, you know where to come, man. I'll always, if you need to message me, please do. You have my contact information, so love you, brother. All right. Man, now I don't know where to go with this stream after this.
I don't either.
Sharpshooter's my boy. Yeah, whatever's happening is not good.
Okay. He deleted Facebook, both of them.
Well, it still says he's lurking in the background according because when I put at and then the sharpshooter, it shows up that he's still in the background. So, dude,
That shows on mine too lately, though. I've noticed.
so dude, if you're still here, just want to let you know I love you, bro. I hope everything's okay. What's the scariest place you've ever visited? That's a hard one to say. There's so many. Scariest place I've ever visited? I don't know. One of the creepiest places I've ever been to is probably the place that creeps me out the most is Adelaide Cemetery, which is about 45 minutes from here. That place is has a pretty nasty feeling. The whole town was wiped out by the mercury that leaked into the water supply and drove everybody nuts. And the teacher actually killed himself. No, sorry. The teacher killed herself inside of the schoolhouse, and his content has no. He has no content either. He's never had content on his channel.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have any content on there. He does have, I think, over 1,000 subscribers, but
the teacher hung herself in the schoolhouse and was buried in the cemetery. Her kid died under mysterious circumstances, and her husband died in the mercury mine itself. The whole town was laid to ruin. There's not really a town existing other than the schoolhouse, which I can't get into, and nobody else has been able to here. None of the other local YouTubers. It's on private property. That place has some serious energy. Yeah. I wonder if he's doing this to other. I wonder if he's sending the same message to other YouTubers who are live.
I don't know. But I don't have a good feeling.
Mm-mm.
What?
I don't know who else is still live.
Control.
But anyway, sharpshooter, love you, dog. Hope you come back. If not, be free, brother. I do love you. YouTube won't be the same without you. Everybody will miss you, dude. But yeah, sorry guys that this decided to happen. Man, I really feel for Brother Sharp. Sharp is a good friend of mine, and he's listened to me, I've listened to him. I consider him a good friend, and I hope he's doing okay. Weird that he would block his Twitter out. I know, we love James.
I meant to do that earlier. I meant to share out this on my community thing earlier.
Oh, gotcha.
But
He
it's
is,
still there so people can go back and watch.
yeah, he is here for everybody. And yeah, bro, we love you. We hope everything's fine. We always have your back.
How about we can I just do this real quick? And
Yep.
everyone just say a prayer for him to make sure everything's okay.
Our Father,
Okay, done.
I ask you to please watch over James Sharp, the sharpshooter, the mod god. Put a love and prayer and protection around him, that whatever he's going through, that he can go through it with honor, dignity, and grace. I ask that you bring Brother Sharp back to us if he is willing. I ask that you let him have his own decision of what his plan is. I ask that you protect him from many of the cruelty of some of these trolls and the people that regularly attack him. And if you could relay a message from us and all of us, his YouTube family, and let him know that we love him, we care about him, and we'd love to have him back. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Makes me feel better. I'm hoping he's watching this. I don't know. I just have that feeling like hurt. you know,
Yeah.
like just really hurt and
Me too.
really like I don't know if I'm just feeding off of him or if I'm just worried or if I don't know. I have that sick feeling.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with him. But I love the sharpshooter. He's a good guy.
Me
He's
too.
done so much for us.
Thank you for praying for him.
Always.
All we can do is hope, guys, and pray that everything's all right and that things will turn around for him. And these freaking trolls and people that want to continue to bash him on a daily, leave him alone and let him do his thing. And if they don't want him to be a mod, they just need to let him know.
No, the last message was just kind of strange. It didn't seem like him.
I know. It didn't. And it just worries me because
He's been hacked before.
I just worry about so many things.
Yeah. So I know he's probably watching and he's probably knows that we care about him. So love you, bro. Hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, Greg, I think so too, you know. And he does so much for everyone in this community
Oh yeah.
and probably outside of our community.
You know, it's like he's helped me when I was in a pinch. The best thing the sharpshooter ever did was he helped give me $100 so I could get by for the next couple weeks. Like
That tells you what kind of heart he has.
that is the sharpshooter. Like I don't know what he does for a living, nor do I care, but it's like I don't know his financial situation or what he's going through, but I mean, he's helped me when I couldn't help myself. And I told him I was struggling and then I woke up and there was $100 in my account. And it said from the sharpshooter and I cried. Like I was really, really happy that I had somebody watching my back. Because I didn't have money for food for the next couple of weeks.
Well, James is a genuine person. He's a genuine person. He acts like a brother.
Oh yeah.
Seriously. He always has your back. Always. And, you know, like when everything was going on with him not being able to, like, you know, comment on anybody's stuff or see anybody's stuff, he was like so beyond excited to be able to see everybody. He's like, sis, I can see you now, you know. And it's like, I know it. And you just see the joy from that. And that's why I'm like so confused on why this is happening. It's like, what did somebody do? Did somebody do something to piss him off or hurt his feelings? Or did he get hacked?
I know. Every time I see James, it brings a smile to my face too. That's why I'm like, I always try to say hi to him. Sometimes I don't pay attention to the chat, and I am sorry. But James always know that I love you, dude.
Aww. Alicia said last year he went into my Etsy shop and bought all his family little presents for Christmas last year.
Oh yeah, like he went in and bought almost everything from my merch store, which was crazy. I mean, he must have spent a couple $100.
He's just an awesome person.
I swear he has like a warehouse with all the stuff he buys from YouTubers that he enjoys.
Yeah, he gave me my first super chat.
Yeah, I mean, James is an amazing, amazing person, and
He
he's
is.
In fact, the craziest thing I ever saw him do is when we were trying to go to the David Omen house the first time. We couldn't fund that trip. I was working part time, trying to get full time at a hotel as a night shift clerk, and he drops $300 into my PayPal and covers our whole trip.
That is awesome.
I was like, wow, that was badass. I was like, dude, you just helped us make a pretty cool couple videos and live streams.
Wow. That just tells you what kind of person he is.
Mm-hmm.
Lee and Ladybug, many months ago, I made a video
a
for
lot
him.
of my beginning to the sharpshooter.
You know, honestly, same. I mean, he's constantly sharing my stuff out. I'm so bad about being active on my social medias, and between him and Diary of a Mind, seriously, I wouldn't be where I am. They
Right.
helped me so much sharing my stuff out and sharing my name out there to others, and I can't thank them both enough.
Oh no, we're not talking like he's dead. I'm trying to, like, if he's listening in the background, like I want him to hear how much I appreciate him.
I just wish people would leave him alone if that's the case. And what the hell? Why would a troll do that?
Because they have some of these trolls think they're really powerful behind the internet.
Kills me.
Sometimes I think these trolls are just straight sociopaths and they just have no empathy for other people.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Alicia said, when I first created merch on Teespring, he bought every color of my t-shirts available and sent me pics on Facebook.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah, Beth, for sure. He is so busy. But he makes time. He makes time for everyone.
Mm-hmm. He calls me. Do you know how much that means to me? Aw.
Well, hopefully everything works out, and he comes around and he gets things figured out. If it was a hack, if not, even then, I hope everything gets worked out and figured out.
He really likes to post the links. Like, he feels like it's his duty, and he at times can get kind of jealous when other people post links for me. So,
like, I understand that though. I do. I get it, because that's his job. That's his thing.
That's his thing.
And
I don't get me wrong. I appreciate when anybody posts links, but the sharpshooter really feels like it's his duty to help my channel by posting links. And
yeah, honestly, like if I'm a mod and he's a mod in the same channel, if he's not in there just yet, I'll start posting the links. But when he gets in there, I stop. I don't need to. If he's doing it, he just stays on top of it.
Oh no, Tammy, you did nothing wrong. No, Tammy, you did nothing wrong. You're awesome too. It was just that he kind of was like, when he's in there posting links, he likes to post the links. It's just a common respect thing for James. And
yeah.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going, Stacy? How are you?
Hey, Stacy. Yeah, Tammy, don't get upset. It's not your fault.
Please, it's not. Yeah, it's not your fault.
Because y'all don't know, and it might not be that,
Right. But guys, I think I'm gonna end this. I gotta be at work at 9:30 in the morning, so I do need to sleep at one point. So have a good rest of your night, guys. Sorry this kind of happened, but I'm more intrigued of what's going on with James and continuing to share the scary stories. I think something happened elsewhere. Yeah, Tammy, it's not your fault. You're awesome.
Yeah, I love you, Tammy.
Yeah, Tammy, you're an amazing person and you're always a good friend. Hey, what's going on? How's it going? Karen Lynn, River City Paranormal, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Unfortunately, I'm going to be ending the stream, guys. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for coming by. It's been an epic stream, lots of amazing ghost stories. Please join me next week. I'm going to try to do ghost stories every roughly about every Thursday. I'm gonna try to shoot for that at least. So no, I'd say it's gonna be every Wednesday night. That's probably better for me. So guys, every Wednesday night is gonna be after dark. I kind of moved it this week because I just had a weird schedule going on, and usually I don't have these days off. So yeah, expect it every Wednesday, and I will try to go live and put on the epic show for you guys. And then I'm gonna be having a couple more videos dropping here in October, as well as a Halloween special. So look forward to seeing you guys soon, and take care and have a good night. And remember to always keep it spooky, my friends. Cheers and have a good one.
Bye, guys.